Hello readers, author Kenny Down here. I'm so happy to be with you today. We're looking at our final in the 6th video series, The Mirror, the Window, and the Wall, the life-changing power of finding your true self. Today we're going to begin with this section of the true self. I hope you're enjoying these videos. In this section, it reads, "We awaken to the truth in one of two ways. The lucky ones decide to face the genuineness of their situation and seek a deeper spiritual life. They are willing to leave behind all falsehoods they have so laboriously set up and do so for a new and infinitely better life. For others, they are beaten beyond recognition or words and wheeled in on a gurney. She was brought to God on a stretcher." For so many of us, this is our experience, that it's only until we take this severe beating that we become willing to look at an alternative way of life. For other people, they have that willingness. It's almost naturally born with that. Hopefully in the spiritual life, what you'll find is that more and more you start seeking out this spiritual way as a desirable way of life. That, like me, I was brought into God on a stretcher. Like Darlene, it's the woman in this book, brought to God on a stretcher. That means that we are beat up. We have no inner resources left that are working because of this belief we have in this mirror, this control that we're trying to have with the window all of the time, and the way that we box ourselves in with the walls. For her, there was only one answer when she arrived. She had tried everything else. She asked for divine life support. She prayed for help, and it came. Through a committed, unrelenting, devoted, and inspired dive into the spiritual life, she was to find love for herself. She was brought to a place of acceptance, to this truism. She could finally see the truth that neither the window, the mirror, nor the wall were her true self. It was neither the truth nor near the truth. Who was she then? There was no more important question to be asked. So it was with her. Who am I? Or better yet, what am I? Why do I accept a role assigned to me against my will? If I lose the assigned role, what will become of me? So I hope you're going to take the time to look at these questions and answer these questions for yourselves. When we look at this, the answer is this truism. What is this truism? This truism is that through a committed, unrelenting, devoted, and inspired dive into the spiritual life, she was to find love for herself. That's the answer. The answer is finding love for ourselves. When we find love within ourselves, we can love other human beings. We can see what other people need. We can only love others to the degree that we love ourselves. If we're seeing that distorted image in the mirror, it's very hard for us to completely love other people or to love God, because God, ourselves, and others are really all one in the same. So we can't parse that out and love others but not love ourselves. And the real serious piece of this is that we can't love God to any degree more than we love ourselves. The answer is this truism, finding love for ourselves through this committed, unrelenting, devoted, and inspired dive into the spiritual life. One of the pieces in that is asking ourselves the tough questions. Who am I? Well, I am love. I am peace. I am beauty. Well, who am I? Well, I'm a child of God. I'm a brother. I'm a sister to all of the 7+ billion people on this planet. That I am one of many. As she gained spiritual understanding and committed to healing, she was able to drop the role she had played for so many years. Only then did she begin to find her true self. It was not comfortable, this period between shedding her false persona and finding her genuine, authentic self. It was a difficult, terrifying, vulnerable, and anxiety-riddled process. She trudged ahead. It remained as the only friendly direction. She knew to shrink would mean disaster. Neither could she return to the mirror, the window, or the wall. Those were tools that no longer worked. They had protected her for many years, shielded her from painful memories, prevented her from further exposure to cruelty. They had worked.
Until they didn't.
So it was with us. These things, these tools that we have, in some ways they protected us. They were our friends and they worked. The mirror worked until it didn't. The window worked until I could no longer survive the exhaustion of trying to control what other people thought of me. The wall worked until I found myself completely and totally alone. I think one of the biggest secrets here is that once you have begun to find the spiritual life and answered some of the questions that we just looked at, there is no full retreat possible. It becomes a part of who we are, and once we begin to know the truth, it's impossible to fully go back to the lie. And the other point here is that, this spiritual awakening that we're talking about, it's not comfortable. In this, I chose to use the words
difficult, terrifying, vulnerable, and anxiety-riddled process.
So it is with us. To lose these things that we've been leaning on for so many years is not comfortable, but it is the only friendly direction. There is no other direction for us to turn. Rising within her was the knowledge that she was born with. Seeking spiritual help was her only hope. She was not learning anything new. She was remembering what she once knew and had long ago forgot. The knowledge that she was an innately spiritual being rang with the truth of ancient wisdom. Being stripped of the false self was a painful process, and the spiritual life came in as a cool, soothing, healing balm. This is forward into the past, because we're not learning anything new. We're getting rid of those things that we think we know so that we can return to those things that we once knew but had forgot. And I'll say that one more time. We're going to go back into the past to return to the future so that we're not losing those things that we know. We're losing these things that we thought we knew so that we can remember those things that we once knew but had forgot. It's this ancient inner wisdom that's within. It's in every one of us. It's within you, it's within me, it's within all of our brothers and sisters and friends. Placed deep in her soul was the intuitive compass, the mystical roadmap to where she needed to go. She found spiritual community. She sought out spiritual teachers, those that had been on this path and succeeded. She read spiritual books and built an altar. She prayed and practiced meditation. Slowly, all those things that were not her fell away. What was left was a loving child of God, her true self. She was the Bodhisattva. For her, it was there all along, and nothing ever changed that. For all of us, we are the loving children of God. We are the heirs of all of God's creation. We are a part and inseparable from God. This discovery is the bedrock under the foundation, the underpinning of the spiritual experience found by followers of any spiritual culture, fellowship, or religion. This is the most important unearthing forevermore. Why? This is why the exploration of inner space outweighs any discovery we will ever make traveling to the far reaches of outer space. When she made this discovery, had this realization, she laughed more, loved more, worried less. She was healthier, happier, and whole. She was free. So it is with us, friends, that when we find a place where when we do these things and answer these questions and go through this sometimes uncomfortable period between the mirror, the window, and the wall, and awakening to this new life, what I call here the most important unearthing forevermore. Think about that. The most important thing that's ever been unearthed. That 1, we are loving children of God. 2, we are heirs to all of God's creation. That means there's no limitations on us. That everything in God's world, we are an heir to that just by our birthright. By being children of God, We are heirs to all that God creates and all that God is. We are a part of and inseparable from God. This was the big truth. Nothing ever changes that. Now, I can believe myself to be separated from God. I can believe myself to be separated from you. I can put up all kinds of walls and separate myself and be different, but the truth is that innately I am heir to God, brother and sister with all, children of God. There's nothing that ever changes that. Sometimes we say we are what we think about most. Well, that's true, and there's a reason people say that, but really we will believe that which we think about most. If I think about all of these negative things, I'm going to believe that, and I'm going to have that perception out in the world. That's the real truth. Nothing ever changes, including our own thoughts, this inseparable nature that we are one with God. Once she had awakened, healing gifts came to her. Not only did she see herself as God saw her, but she was given the gift to see others as they are. Her third eye, what Westerners sometimes call the sixth sense, was open. Intuition came in a way no one who had not been through the transformation could. She was able to look at the walled-in person and know that they were only playing a role. She could see through the lightly veiled attempt to protect their own false self and see the true self long before it was apparent to anyone else. She saw them as they were, her true family in the spiritual life with an inborn spiritual core. They were as she was. The Buddha, the Christ, the mother, the father, the prophet, the child, one of 7 billion brothers and sisters on this planet. For her, hopelessness preceded willingness. Willingness led her to truth. The truth was health, happiness, wisdom, love, humility, intuition, and intelligence. The mirror, the window, and the wall are distant memories for her now. She has found and learned to maintain her true self. She has awakened. She knows. This was spiritual understanding, not of the intellect, but of the soul. It is who she is. That's a pretty amazing thing. When we're hopeless, we have no further friendly direction. This hopelessness leads us to willingness to maybe think about pursuing a different way. Maybe we become more open-minded on spiritual things of spiritual nature. And that willingness leads us to truth. And what is the truth? The truth is these 7 things that's listed in this book. 7. The complete cycle. Once again, this number 7 appears. Health, happiness, wisdom, love, humility, intuition, and intelligence. These are the gifts that we're given by being who we are. Those things. Health, happiness, wisdom, love, humility, intuition, and intelligence. God, what great news is that for all of us. We search the world for these things, and the last place we look is inside of ourselves. And gosh, it's so troubling to me that why aren't we teaching this in schools? Why aren't we teaching children to ask these questions of who am I and what am I? And instead we instill with them these ridiculous ideas that somehow you're special because you're a little bit more apt to take advantage of the academics that are presented, and you're better than other people because you're better in sports. We're going to make a big deal out of you. We don't find those innate things that make us all connected, that we're all part of everyone else's success, and that our thoughts are things. Why aren't we teaching this to the kids in school, that what we think about has a direct relation to how we perceive the world? Why aren't we teaching a class on how to know and to be loving, how to love ourselves? Wouldn't that be something? I hope that someday we get there, and I know there are good schools out there teaching this. And to those that are teaching this, God bless. And we're going to close now with Darlene's prayer, which was our second video in this series, was just on this prayer. But we're going to do a final close with this. If you've got your book, I hope you'll join. Lord of the happy, joyous, and free, I grant you permission to repair the broken mirror. I pray now that I would see the reflection of my true self, so strong and beautiful and free. I grant you permission to open the window wide, that others may see me for who I really am. I pray now that they really see me and I them, so love-filled, honest, and kind. I grant you my permission to tear down the wall. I pray now that you would take away all I use to build barriers. I am so tired of hiding. I commit with your helping hand to step into the sunlight, to shine, illuminate, and empower myself and others. Amen. Stay in contact. Follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Join my webpage, newthoughtlife.org. And please contact me. You'll find that I'm not hard to contact. Contact me. I'd love to hear in person from you on how these videos and how this book has affected your life. God bless.